Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and this time we're talking about the whereabouts for both Zelda and Metroid at Game Awards 2020. Many people thought we could maybe see one or even both at the Game Awards. I even had them in my predictions, but they weren't there. For my predictions, I did predict that this year's Game Awards would be overall better than last year's, and that we would get 2 to 3 Nintendo announcements, one of them being a Monster Hunter trailer. We did get that, but I was also hoping for maybe Metroid or Zelda. We didn't get either of those, however, I did also talk about that if we didn't get Metroid or Zelda, we would probably get Smash instead. And that definitely did happen. And let me tell you, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy making it into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I think that's pretty awesome. While it definitely made sense for Nintendo to announce a third-party character at the Game Awards, I wasn't expecting another antagonist from an already established series inside Smash Bros. This was pretty darn cool, and overall, I would say that Nintendo's presence at the Game Awards was a little bit better than last year's, where we got just DLC for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, an update trailer for No More Heroes 3, and Bravely Default 2. Smash Bros. And Monster Hunter are more exciting in my opinion. But what we're focusing on today is what's going on with Zelda and Metroid. Where is Breath of the Wild 2? Why wasn't it at the Game Awards? Will we be seeing it soon? And what about Metroid? There have been a whole bunch of Metroid rumors, but is there anything that's valid to them? Is there still something for Metroid coming around the corner as well? And as Zelda and Metroid announcements are around the corner, why weren't they at the Game Awards? That's what we're focusing on today. Now before we jump into things, let me quickly talk about my social media. There is a Twitter page, a Discord community, a Patron page, and a Twitch channel. If you are interested in any of that, check it all out. It's linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, subscribe. Looking at what Nintendo did give us this year at the Game Awards, it does seem like they were focusing more on things that are in the immediate future that are also more on the third-party side of things. So yes, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a Nintendo franchise, it is a first-party offering, but we got a third-party DLC character announcement at the Game Awards, something that is fitting for that kind of audience. And Monster Hunter Rise, while it's definitely a big game in the East, has also been slowly gaining a larger and larger Western audience as well. So showing off Monster Hunter Rise actually might be kind of a smart move because they may be trying to build upon that Western audience even more so, and Nintendo and Capcom have definitely been pushing Monster Hunter Rise. This is a very big third-party exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. I myself think this is going to go down as the best-selling third-party game on the Nintendo Switch for its entire lifetime. Monster Hunter is a huge seller, and it usually does very well on Nintendo systems. So a Monster Hunter game of this proportion on the Switch where all things are successful, I think is bound to break a whole bunch of records here. So there's definitely a lot on the line here in terms of success. So Nintendo, I think, is definitely going to push it as much as they can. They did have a dedicated Monster Hunter Direct. Monster Hunter Rise is coming out to close out the fiscal year this March. So yes, it does seem like Nintendo has a lot of big plans for this game, and we are getting a demo this January as confirmed by the new trailer at the Game Awards. I think they wanted to put Monster Hunter Rise here at the Game Awards because it makes sense. This game is coming out in March. They want to push it. They want to show it to a whole other large audience at the Game Awards. Obviously, this is in hindsight, but looking at what they could have done, showing off Smash Bros. With a third-party DLC character and Monster Hunter Rise was definitely a good choice in terms of marketing here, so it makes a lot of sense. So this time around, it appears that Nintendo chose games that are more on the third-party side of things that would appeal to the Game Awards audience, but are also more for the immediate future. This Smash DLC, Sephiroth, is coming out this December, this actual month of 2020, and Monster Hunter Rise is coming out this March, but it's also getting a demo for this January. But what does that mean for Zelda and Metroid? If there was no Zelda at the Game Awards, does that mean that there's no Zelda game anytime soon? I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case, and we'll get to Metroid a little bit later into the video. So I think you could actually argue that the fact we didn't see Breath of the Wild 2 at the Game Awards is actually implying that perhaps they want to save all of their Zelda announcements for one particular event. So for Mario's 35th anniversary, it was an entire direct where we had a slew of Mario anniversary announcements. Obviously, at some point, Nintendo needs to talk about Breath of the Wild 2, especially if it's coming out for holiday 2021, or at least sometime in the year, which seems like a pretty good bet considering how long it's been in development. But there's also a really good chance Nintendo's more than just Breath of the Wild 2 planned for Zelda's 35th anniversary, which is this February. There have been rumors and listings for Skyward Sword HD, and there's a slew of other Zelda games that could be added to the Switch eShop, not to mention there's a whole bunch of other things they could do in terms of merchandising and such. In fact, we have seen trademarks for a whole bunch of different merchandising plans for Zelda, the same way we saw for Mario, so it definitely looks like Nintendo does have some sort of Zelda 35th anniversary plan here. So saving Breath of the Wild 2 for perhaps some sort of major Nintendo Direct in January or February that may focus on Zelda's 35th anniversary makes a lot of sense. A few days ago, myself and Brandon from What About Nintendo had a little discussion that we posted on the channel where we talked about what we were sort of expecting from a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. And what we sort of concluded is that the next time we see Breath of the Wild 2, it makes most sense for it to be a big, significant trailer that's about 3 or so minutes long that gives us an actual title drop here and perhaps even tells us what year this game is coming out in, 2021 hopefully. But as Brandon noted in that discussion, that kind of trailer wouldn't make sense for the Game Awards. There's a whole bunch of announcements that are going on at the Game Awards. Having that long of a trailer is not something they would normally do. Something that would show off at the Game Awards would be more on the shorter side of things. It would be more of a typical teaser. But we've already gotten enough teasing for Breath of the Wild 2. It's time for Nintendo to start focusing on actually pushing this game and giving us specific and real details about this game. So maybe because of Zelda's 35th anniversary, and because Nintendo's ready to just start talking about this game in actuality and not just teasing it, they decided to hold off on a short teaser for December and just save a full-blown trailer for perhaps just a month or two down the road for Zelda's 35th anniversary. Now, if Breath of the Wild 2 was coming out early in the year for 2021, at that point I would say Nintendo definitely would have talked about it. I would say that actually, because Breath of the Wild 2 is not at the Game Awards, they're saving it for the anniversary to start talking about it then, but I think this also means Breath of the Wild 2 is more of a late 2021 kind of game. But what about Metroid? Sure, Zelda has a big anniversary coming this February. Breath of the Wild 2 has been a known quantity for quite some time, and many of us believe it's coming out in 2021. We probably don't have too much to worry about when it comes to getting a Zelda announcement. That's coming probably sooner than later. But Metroid is an entirely different beast. This franchise has been dormant for quite some time. We know Metroid Prime 4 is in development, but they had to restart development back at the beginning of 2019, or at least that's when they announced the restart. And we've been seeing a whole bunch of hires, but the point is Prime 4 is probably a ways off, probably 2022. That's what most people think at this point, and I agree with that. But then of course there's also the rumors of a 2D Metroid and Prime trilogy. Could those be around the corner? Potentially, I think, especially when you consider the possibility of 35th anniversary plans for Metroid. Now, I've talked about on the channel how I think that Nintendo is planning some sort of 35th anniversary sort of special for Metroid as well. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be as big as the Mario one or what we get for Zelda. I think it's definitely going to be smaller, but I think they're at least going to take advantage of the opportunity presented by a 35th anniversary for Metroid to start talking about it and showcasing this series to more people. We've already talked about on the channel how there's a lot of speculation going on right now that Samus could be added to Fortnite as a playable skin. That makes sense, especially if Nintendo does have a whole bunch of Metroid plans for 2021. If they are planning some sort of 35th anniversary celebration to spread more awareness of the Metroid series, also they can build up a stronger fan base of new gamers so they can all buy Metroid Prime 4 when it does eventually come out, that all makes sense. So similar to how Nintendo may have held back Breath of the Wild 2 to show off during a Zelda 35th anniversary sort of special or presentation, maybe they're doing the same for Metroid. But it's also possible that there just isn't anything in the immediate future for Metroid. Perhaps whatever we're getting for Metroid isn't coming in 2021, or if it is, maybe it's coming out in the second half of 2021. Another possibility is just that they decided to go with Monster Hunter and Smash Bros., and they saved things like Zelda and Metroid just for another time. There may not have been much more reason beyond that. They can only show off so much at the Game Awards. It's not actually a Nintendo Direct or an E3 presentation. Nintendo has a whole bunch of games they can talk about. They're not going to just talk about Metroid and Zelda when we most want them. they're going to talk about them when they think it makes the most sense for whatever they're planning for that year. So it's still entirely possible that there could be a Nintendo Direct in either January, February, or March where they talk about all of their 2021 plans, or at least their plans for the first half of 2021, and we may see some sort of mention for Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid. I'm honestly not too concerned about it. Just because we didn't see it at the Game Awards doesn't mean it's not coming, it just means that we have to wait a little bit longer. So while the wait for more Metroid and Breath of the Wild 2 news is still going, we still have some things to look forward to in the meanwhile. We got Smash Brothers, we have a new DLC character coming out this December, and the Monster Hunter Rise demo coming out this January, and maybe by that point, we get some sort of Nintendo Direct where we learn about other awesome Nintendo games like Breath of the Wild 2, and some sort of Metroid game. But we shall see. Anyways everyone, those are my thoughts on the matter, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. This is On Just Restart, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.